Chapter 27. The number 7. The number of perfection. And I saw in the right hand of him that sat on the throne a book written within and on the backside, sealed with 7 seals. And I beheld, and, lo, in the midst of the throne and of the 4 beasts, and in the midst of the elders, stood a lamb as it had been slain, having 7 horns and 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth. Revelation v. 1-6. The book of Revelation abounds in the use of 7 in reference to completion, such as the 7 vials of the 7 last plagues, the 7 trumpet calls, the 7 thunders, the sounding of the 7 angels, the 7 kings, 5 of whom are fallen, the beast with the 7 heads, etc. As we have said elsewhere, the book mentioned in our text is the great book of life, Akashic Records, with its 7-fold manifestations, so frequently referred to in scriptural and occult literature. Within this great book is written all that is to manifest during the cycle which begins when the word is spoken, "Let there be light," and the spirit of life moves upon the face of the waters of chaos. The 7 seals are the 7 manifestations of the one life. In the solar system, the 7 cosmic centers of force or powers of the heavenly man and the 7 great day periods or rounds. In humanity, the 7 great races, and in man, made in the image of the 7-fold Elohim, the 7 sacred centers of his body and his 7 stages of growth. Just as a stone thrown into a calm pool sets up ever-widening waves of vibration, so the light shot out into the darkness of chaos causes a 7-fold wave of manifestation throughout the cosmos. The great book as applied to man is his body with its 7 sacred centers. It is sealed with 7 seals because, although individually man can open these centers as he evolves Godward, for humanity as a whole they open only as it passes through the 7 great races, each of which opens to man a new sense, new conditions, and new experiences. These centers are the avenues through which man comes into conscious communion with the higher realms, but they are sealed until through normal growth he has evolved to a point where he can control and utilize them. The fact that the great book of the Akashic Records is sealed with 7 seals which no man is worthy to open, should effectually dispose of the claims of those who say they have transcribed certain works directly from the Akashic Records. There is, however, a reflecting medium which is mistaken by many psychics for the Akashic Records. This reflects both from above and below, but looked at from the earth it reflects more from present-day conditions than from the Akashic Records, thus mixing the two. Number 7, when complete in man, may be called the Christ gift, the prototype of the Christmas gift, which is sealed with the 7 seals of love, patience, purity, trust, perseverance, endurance, and devotion. These are the king's seals which must be opened and manifested one by one. For even if one remains sealed, the neophyte will not bear the mark on his forehead which seals him as one of the elect. The Lamb had 7 horns and 7 eyes. The horn is an universal symbol of power. Horns are the principal defense and strength of many animals, enabling them to maintain their supremacy over those having no horns. For this reason the ram becomes the leader and defender of the flock, the sheep being without horns. A horn symbolizes a ruler, a king, or military power. To exalt one's horn or cause it to bud or grow is to strengthen and prosper. To lift one's horn is to become arrogant. To cut off one's horn is to weaken or be crushed. The horn is also a symbol of plenty, both in the physical and spiritual life, showing that the ram one, although slain and reborn as the lamb, must still lead and feed the flock through the plenteous outpourings from its 7 horns. The 7 horns symbolize the 7 great powers of man, whose attainment are steps upon the path to mastery along which the Christ light must lead him. The 7 eyes, which are the 7 spirits of God sent forth into all the earth, and this connection symbolized that spiritual insight which is the accompaniment and reward of such conquering, or the perfected clear seeing upon all planes, as well as the watchful care of the Spirit. The 7 stars in the right hand of the Ancient of Days are the 7 cosmic forces or planetary deities. Another aspect of these same forces is symbolized by the lights of the 7 candles, but in this case they are confined to an earthly vehicle, the light merely shining through a limited earthly conception. For although the candlesticks are golden, pure, they rest upon the earth, while in the case of the stars the light shines direct from the Absolute. It also indicates that the great law holds even the planets and the planetary deities in its hand. As above, so below, the one light in both stars and candlesticks. Do not confuse this teaching with pantheism, for it is not. We do not teach that there are many co-equal gods, but that there are many divine, entitized manifestations of the one God, the Absolute. The great law has 2 aspects, one represented by the 7 stars, the 7 manifestations of the great law in its purity, and the other represented by the 7 candlesticks or its chosen vehicles of expression on earth. These vehicles, while of gold and originally reflecting the light of the 7 stars in its purity, are nevertheless susceptible to contamination by the mire of earth, as the rebukes given to the 7 churches in the next chapter will show. A candlestick is a specially created, manufactured instrument for the one purpose of holding a candle that the light may shine out to illuminate and guide humanity. The Sefer Yetzirah agrees with occult philosophy when it states that out of the 7 letters and the 7 numbers, colors, tones, and the planetary forces with which they are identified, there were created the 7 worlds, the 7 heavens, 7 earths, 7 seas, 7 rivers, 7 deserts, 7 days, etc. The 7 worlds are the 7 globes which compose a world chain. Among Kabbalists, these 7 worlds are called the original, intelligible, celestial, elementary, lesser, astral, infernal, Kamaloka or Hades, and the physical or temporal. The 7 heavens are the 7 divisions or subplanes of the astral, i.e., the reflective, etheric, vital, desire, mental, inspirational, and ecstatic. The 7 earths are the 7 states of consciousness experienced on earth, i.e., primitive animal consciousness, self-consciousness, tribal or class consciousness, ethical or duty to others, astral or psychic, spiritual or Christ consciousness, and universal or cosmic consciousness. The 7 seas refer to the 7 states of illusion. The 7 rivers are the 7 streams of force in man, i.e., blood, nerve, pranic, astral, mental, psychic, and spiritual. The 7 deserts are the barren wastes of doubts, fears, misconceptions, disappointments, disillusions, poverty, and ill health. It is on account of his septenary nature that the sun is spoken of by the ancients as one who is driven by 7 horses equal to the meters of the Vedas, as also that he has 7 rays, as indeed he has. The 7 beings in the sun are the 7 holy ones, self-born from the inherent power in the matrix of mother substance. It is they who send the 7 principal forces, called rays, which at the beginning of Pralaya will center into 7 new suns for the next Manvantara. The 7th path in the Sephir Yetzirah is that of occult intelligence, a combination of faith and intellect. In Hinduism, the path of perfection is made up of a series of 7s, each 7 marking a definite step or victory won by the neophyte. These steps are spoken of as portals or gates because the neophyte must pass through experiences and enter states of consciousness which are closed to him until he brings the golden key to each, or until he has attained the mystic power which will open them. These 7 keys are as follows: to the first portal, charity and all-embracing love; to the second, harmony and fearlessness; to the third, patience; to the fourth, indifference to pleasure as to pain; to the fifth, dauntless energy; to the sixth, ceaseless contemplation; and to the seventh, the key which opens the final gate, whose entrance makes of man a god. Number 7 is held to represent magic in its fullness. Philosophies Levi says, the virtue of the septenary is absolute in magic, for the number is decisive in all things. Hence all religions have consecrated it in their rites. In other words, man, through the power of the Christ force, and number 7 has claimed his heritage. He can now stand upon the foundation stone and allow the divine triangle to pour down its triune blessings upon his head. The 5-pointed star has gained 2 more points, the rod by which man holds his 5 powers in his right hand, and the dot in the center which synthesizes all his powers, the true magic pentagram. It is man's mind reinforced by all the elementary potencies. Viewed as a compound of 6 and 1, the scenery and the unity, number 7 was the invisible center, the spirit of everything, as there exists no hexagonal body without a 7th property being found as the central point in it. The symbol of a star with 7 points was sometimes used in ancient temples and schools of mysteries, but it was used as an exoteric blind, for it was well known by the initiated priests that a 7-pointed star was not a true symbol. A star with 7 points would necessarily focus the forces which the points contacted into a central point, thus giving the figure an 8-fold power. This symbol was used to instruct the neophyte in the perfection of number 7 and to instill into his mind a reverence for its potencies, while the force invoked was that of number 8, which is both evolution, balance and poise, all of which are qualities necessary for initiation. But until he had passed his initiation, the 6-pointed star with its central dot could not be entrusted to him, lest he misuse its potencies and powers. Hence in true esoteric symbolism there is number 7-pointed star, as it cannot be formed by the combination of any 2 simple geometrical figures, although it is sometimes seen in exoteric emblems. The geometrical symbol of number 7 is the interlaced triangles with the dot in the center. The dot being the same germinal point we found within the circle, or the creative nucleus of the mundane egg which has evolved during its 6-day periods of creation through nature and man and become the synthesized focal point for the forces of its 6 manifestations. As O represents deity as the source of all, so Y represents deity manifesting through the perfect unfolding and balancing of the positive and negative triangles described under number 6. The 6 points represent the 6 days required to bring forth the microcosm, while the dot within is the throne upon which the deity rests on the 7th day and pronounces all his works good. As the dot in the circle represents the throne of deity in the macrocosm, so the dot in the 6-pointed star represents the throne of deity established and manifesting in the microcosm. The dot in the center represents the soul of all things, as the star represents the body, for there is no body which 6 lines, or the 6 directions of space, north, south, east, west, up, down, will not enclose, and which is not an outward manifestation of the 7th point in the center. This symbol therefore represents the perfected spiritual or nirmanakya body when attained. In its unity, primordial light is the 7th, or highest, principle, Deva Prakriti, the light of the unmanifested logos. But in its differentiation, it becomes Fohat, or the 7 suns. The former is symbolized by the central point in the FT double triangle, the latter by the hexagon itself, or the 6 limbs of Microprosopis, the 7th being Makath, the bride of the Christian Kabbalists. By the Essenes this symbol is called the Seal of Solomon, for they recognized Solomon as the personification of esoteric wisdom. And to this day, even among Christian peoples it is still looked upon as a powerful talisman, especially in Russia and Poland. The Pythagoreans called it the symbol of creation, and the Egyptians similarly looked upon it as the union of fire and water or generation. The 7th Sapphira is called Netzach, firmness and victory, corresponding to the divine name Jehovah Tsabaoth, the Lord of hosts, and the angelic names Elohim and Tharshism, the brilliant ones. Hence man can evolve intellectually to a point where he can unfold the 6th Sapphira, that is, he can intertwine the divine attributes with the physical and thus become the magic symbol of Solomon's seal, the seal of wisdom. But until he has unfolded or manifested the 7th point and gained a complete victory, until he has fixed his gaze upon the star of initiation, the Christ Son, and made that the center from which all his works proceed, he may be a magician with mighty power, but he is not accepted as a white magician. The 6 represents wonderful intellectual development, but it must recognize, accept, and respond to the spiritual overshadowing or the divine illumination of the dot in the center, ere the perfection of 7 is reached. The 7th key is the hieroglyph of the sacred septenary, of royalty, of the priesthood, the initiate, of triumph and true result by struggle. It is magic power in all its force, the true holy kingdom. In the Hermetic philosophy it is the quintessence resulting from the union of the 2 forces of the great magic agent, Akasha, the astral light. In the Greek legend Minos, king of Crete, demanded every 9th year a toll of 7 youths and 7 maidens who were sacrificed to Menachur, a monster with the body of a man and the head of a bull. This monster was confined in a labyrinth, in whose passages any of the victims who attempted to escape lost their way and were eventually devoured. When the time for the 3rd sacrifice drew near, Theseus, taking the place of the youths and maidens, went to Crete to slay the monster. At his landing, Ariadne, the daughter of Minos and granddaughter of the sun god Helios, fell in love with Theseus and gave him a thread which he unwound as he proceeded, and thus was enabled to find his way out of the labyrinth after slaying the monster. This myth symbolizes the positive, masculine, and the negative, feminine, aspects of the 7 planetary hierarchies through which the great tests of humanity are brought out. Since the bull symbolizes the sign Taurus and the generative power, the meaning is that the man whose passions, bull, rule and dominate the body, occupy the seat of government, the head, is confined and shut in on every side by the labyrinth of earth conditions. In other words, animal man, while evolving through the lower aspects of forces symbolized by the 3 decans of Taurus, degrades and devours the most beautiful planetary influences, until the close of the third cycle or third great initiation, when the real self, Theseus, by following the thread of love and intuition given him by the feminine aspect or daughter of the sun, the third decan of Taurus being ruled by Venus, is able to slay the monster and set the planetary influences free from the domination of the animal man, that they may accomplish their true mission of opening to the initiated man the gates of paradise or the New Jerusalem. Among the Greeks, the sun is portrayed as a chariot drawn by 7 horses, representing the 7 planetary hierarchies or rays. And, in the myth, Phaeton, the mortal son of Helios the sun god, essays to drive this chariot of the sun, with disastrous results. The meaning of this allegory is that man must perfect his 7 principles and his 7 powers on earth and become more than mortal ere he can safely hold the reins and control the 7 planetary forces. It also refutes a popular modern teaching, i.e., that because man has a divine father he is therefore, knowing in his present undeveloped state, a god with all the powers of a god successfully to negotiate the circle of the zodiac in his own strength. The fate of those who espouse this doctrine is as certain as was Phaeton's, for like him they must face all the monsters of the zodiac, especially Scorpio, which caused the disaster to Phaeton. As the legend reads, here the scorpion extended his 2 great arms, with his tail and crooked claws stretching over 2 signs of the zodiac, Virgo and Scorpio, which were formerly one sign and represented in Syro-Chaldean magic as God and the devil. When the boy beheld him, reeking with poison and menacing with his fangs, his courage failed and the reins fell from his hands. The test of Scorpio, the test of sex, is thus fitly described. It is under this test that so many self-styled gods in mortal frame fail. And as with Phaeton, the fiery steeds of thought run away with them and they are dashed to earth. The dragons and serpents of antiquity were all 7-headed, as was the beast of the apocalypse, a head for each of the 7 races, and had 7 hairs on each head, representing the 7 sub-races of each great race. The 4 dragons of wisdom were composed of 7 constellations each. The 7 northern constellations made up the Black Warrior, the 7 eastern, the White Tiger, the 7 southern, the Vermilion Bird, and the 7 western, the Azure Dragon. The 7-headed Akkadian serpent, whose heads multiplied from 7 into 1,000, fitly symbolizes the 7 principles of man and nature, with their manifold aspects. Number 7 was also held sacred to several gods, for instance, Osiris, whose body was cut into 2 times 7 pieces, Mars and his 7 attendants, Apollo and his 7-stringed lyre, etc.